This is I Only Touch Greatness Remix. Scan the code and follow.
Very early days of the UFC or Ultimate Fighter, they remind me a lot of the Bloodsport movie. And of course, Bloodsport is a great movie. On that note, I was wondering, do you have a favorite fighting movie?
Yeah, I've got two. Braveheart was one of the. I just Mel Gibson was just a tremendous. He did such a great job in that. It was really awesome. I would say probably the other one that would stand above them would be The Godfather.
Okay.
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and the story they told on how the family, they came here and didn't have anything, and how they were basically I don't want to get in trouble for this, but basically the way the government runs today, they invented it.
Yeah. We actually had Royce on a couple maybe a month ago or so, and we've watched back those original fights between you and him multiple times, and geez, it was a great fight for sure. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and then UFC 3, you were supposed to fight him again. He dropped out because of an injury, and then UFC 5, you finally got your rematch.
That was one that it seemed like every time that I fought Royce, there was always something that it would change, or they put something in. Even in the first one where they took my shoes away. I mean, and people kind of laugh. What are you talking to? What does that matter? Unless you've ever been on a canvas before without shoes, it's a whole lot different. It was slick. So you don't have, just like when I fought Patrick Smith, if you'll see it, I literally, when I shot on him, I was slipping. I had to just like corkscrew, like just keep turning him until I got him to the ground, because I couldn't get my footing to pick him up or to sweep him or trip him, because I was slipping. So it was just a whole different surface, and not understanding that going into that fight, you just kind of go, whatever, I'm fighting. I don't care what they throw at me. I'm the best here, so it ain't going to matter. Of course, as you start becoming more professional and you start understanding that every little thing does count and it does make a difference. So they changed it several times on who I was going to fight, when I was going to fight. Didn't know until the day of who I was going to fight. And then, of course, taking away, guys wanted to wrap their hands. They said they couldn't wrap them. It's supposed to be no rules, anything goes. They said guys couldn't wrap their hand. They couldn't, but yet they let Art Jimerson wear one glove. Royce Gracie could wear his gi. But I couldn't wear my wrestling shoes. Zane Frazier couldn't wrap his hands or wear his shin guards. So it was just a really weird thing. So we get past that, we go into the next one. I'm like, okay, I'm trained for this. I've got everything I need to know. 48 hours before we're supposed to fight, they put in a time limit. I literally trained for a 3-hour fight. I would go with a guy every 5 minutes and have a fresh guy coming on me every 5 minutes for 3 hours. I trained for a 3-hour fight because I felt like that's what it was going to take to beat Royce Gracie. And if it didn't, I would wear him out. He would no way he'd be able to go with me condition wise, with the pressure I could put on him, with my balance and my strength. I could control him, put pressure on him, wear him out, and then beat him however I want to beat him, because he wouldn't be able to lift his legs by putting pressure down on him constantly, headbutting him, constantly putting pressure on his sternum so he couldn't breathe. And then it worked out. If you watch the end of the fight, I wore his ass out in the 36-minute fight. If we'd have had 20, 25 more minutes, he wouldn't have been able to walk out of there. He barely did in this amount of time. So my strategy was good. It worked. It just didn't have enough time to do it. So it was almost constantly, there was something I was trying to figure out or deal with whenever I fought him. And even in the third one that we did, once I locked up with him, I hit him with a knee. Once we locked up, right after I clipped him with the knee, didn't land it solid, but clipped him with the knee in the tie-up. It's the first time that we had gotten together. He kneed me in the groin. I mean, and then tells me after the fact that I should have known and I should have protected myself because that's the way we used to fight. I was like, what? I kid you not. That's what he said in a press conference. That's what
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it.
I was like, that's not how we're fighting, dude. If I'd have known that, I wouldn't have tied up. Like, you make decisions on knowing what the rules are. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that people always say I'm bitter. And every time Royce Gracie's name comes up, you just sound like you're crying or you're complaining. And it's true. It is bitter. And call it crying, or you call it just not being comfortable with the way things played out. Because in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I felt like every single time from the first fight to the third fight, there was always something that happened that caused this unsettledness in me. Not that I'm saying, and I wouldn't say this because we'll never know, that I would have gone in and beat up Royce Gracie. I believe I would have, but we don't know that, right? Because it never happened. But because of the things that happened with the time limit being put in, me training a certain way to beat him, I can't change it 48 hours before the event. I've got to stick with my plan. And then the very first one where me, it was my fault for not saying, hey, there's supposed to be no rules. Anything goes. Why are you taking my shoes away? I didn't do that. That's on me. But yeah, this kind of lays it out there, all the stuff that happened and why when people talk to me about Royce Gracie, I have a lot to say.
That's fair. You're allowed to have a lot to say. It seems like it anyways. There was an excuse every time. So It is what it is.
Yeah, it's history, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's history. But that's the fun thing about talking about history is that everybody gets to have an opinion.
Absolutely.
Do you still have animosity towards them?
No. No. Outside of fighting, man, I've learned a long time ago, man, we all have to get along. We go to different events and stuff. We see each other. There's no reason for us to want to try to fight each other. I think we're past that. But I would fight him again if we had the opportunity, no doubt. But, I'm not going to get in his face or call him out because we're way beyond that.
Of course. What was your favorite strike and submission?
Say that again?
What was your favorite strike and submission?
My favorite strike's a straight right hand. Simple. My favorite submission is definitely the heel hook. It's something I made a living at.
Yep, absolutely, you did. That was one of the pictures with The Rock, actually, that we added on our ad.
Yeah.
So you also fought in Pride. You tell us about your time in Pride.
Yeah, it was. I got a small deal with them after I'd gotten out of pro wrestling. I believe it was my first organization that I went to. I believe Alexander Otsuka was my first opponent. I caught him with the left hook. And then I had, the big old Japanese kid, blonde hair, I forget his name. I beat the snot out of him for 10 minutes or whatever it was. And this is the thing behind the scenes I was going through a divorce, and I was in a 3-bedroom apartment. My ex at the time was going through some mental issues and dropped the kids off on me. I mean, literally just dropped them off on the porch. Didn't see her. The kids are knocking on the door. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? Like, I would have visits with them, but I didn't have anywhere really for them to stay because I had 2 roommates. So they were dropped off on me. And so then I had to figure out how I was going to, because I was leaving to go to Japan to fight. I couldn't bring, my 3 boys and my little girl with me. So I didn't get the right training in. I was stressed. And I remember walking into that fight saying, I'm just going to knock him out and then get back home. And I knocked him down once. I mean, I beat him up, and I really thought I could knock him out and just be over with the fight and go home. And I put everything into it in that first 5-10 minutes and beat him up. And I did everything to finish him, but that dude just would not go away. And I got to a point where I started seeing all these white flashes. My heart was not doing what it was supposed to be doing. And I literally almost passed out as I was looking at my corner and I was saying, hey, I can't see. And I can't see. And they threw the towel in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and that's the only time I think ever in my career where I look at it and I feel really humiliated because, I've always been that guy that never quit no matter what. But that's one of the if I was going to look at anything and say that's the one that disappoints me the most, it would be that one.
You definitely got thrown a curveball, though. I mean, it wasn't really your fault at the end of the day.
Well, it's my fault. I mean, I'm in the ring. Like I said, I commented earlier, I am the only one that can change my direction of where I'm going, and that I'm responsible for that direction. So no matter what I say, and that's where I think most people don't understand when I'm saying something and I'm complaining about something, doesn't mean I don't take responsibility for it. I do. All I'm doing is trying to explain my position and where I was at. But at the end of the day, it's a win or a loss, and it's on me and nobody else.